Hi, I'm Gabriel, and this is Learning English Path. And in this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to talk about happiness. A teenage boy called Alex was feeling down. He was down in the dumps. So a friend of his came to see him, a girl called Betty. And Betty told Alex that she had recently fallen in love with a boy. So she was on cloud 9. But she could see that Alex wasn't. So she made him go for a walk with her to lift his spirits. As they walked together and they talked together. On the way out, when they were leaving the house, they saw Alex's neighbor. Now this neighbor, he was always miserable, always grumpy, complaining about everything, right? But today was different. Today he was on top of the world. Because he had just won the lottery. He was jumping and screaming. He was jumping for joy because he was over the moon about what had happened to him. So Alex smiled. He became more upbeat about the world. And as they were walking, everyone around them seems to be full of the joys of spring. Full of the joys of spring. Everyone was in a good mood. They got to the park and saw some children playing with a water hose, spraying each other, and they were having a whale of a time. This cheered Alex up even more. So, when they got to the river, Betty told Alex that she had something to tell him. She sat him down and she said, "The boy I'm in love with, Alex, is you. I'm in love with you." At this point, Alex rejoiced because he was also in love with Betty. You see, that's why he was down in the dumps before, because he thought that she had fallen in love with some other boy. Some boy called Luke. So Alex became elated. They kissed, and Alex was in 7th heaven. And then they walked home, and they were walking on air. When Alex returned home that evening, his family could see that he was as happy as Larry. Okay, did you notice all of the idioms? All of the phrases that described happiness? There were quite a few. So let's go through them. All right, the first one. The first one actually wasn't about happiness. There were a couple that were not about happiness, right? What are they? Feeling down. You know, that's when someone feels just like things are not going very well. Okay, and down in the dumps, that's even worse. That's when you're miserable. All right, that's when you're really feeling like rubbish. Okay, and let's go to the happy ones now, because this video is about happiness. So the first one, Betty. So what was Betty when she said to Alex originally that she had fallen in love with a boy? She was what? she was on cloud 9, right? She was on cloud 9. What does that mean? Well, that means that her head is so full of happiness and joy now that it's way up in the clouds. It's on the 9th cloud, right? She's on cloud 9. Okay, what's the next one? So she could see that Alex wasn't on cloud 9. So what did she do? She made him go for a walk. To do what? To lift his spirits. To lift his spirits. That means to make him feel better, right? So, to cheer him up. That was another word. Okay? He was beginning to feel like he was cheering up. The next one, his neighbor who had just won the lottery. Remember that grumpy neighbor? But now, today, he was what? He was on top of the world. That means that he was feeling like there was no one in the world who was happier than he was right now. Okay? So he was on top of the world. And what was he doing? He was screaming and jumping for joy, right? Jumping for joy. He was so happy, he was jumping for joy. You could always also say leaping for joy. Okay, and he was also over the moon, right? So again, very similar to on top of the world. He was over the moon about what had happened to him. Not just on top of the world now he's over the moon. So Alex, he began to feel more upbeat, right? Upbeat, a little happier. He was smiling. So he was more positive about the world. And everyone around, as they walked the streets, everyone around were full of the joys of spring. What does this mean? This means, well, you imagine in springtime, right? You've got the flowers are coming up, the birds are singing, everyone's happy, playing games, right? So everyone's full of the joys of spring. It's a joyous time, spring. So everyone was in a good mood. That just means everyone was feeling good. Okay, so then, what did they see at the park? They saw the children at the park playing with the water hose, right? Spraying each other. And what were they having? They were having a whale of a time. A whale of a time. If you're having a whale of a time, that means you're having a great time. You're having a wonderful time right now. You're having fun. You're enjoying yourself, right? You're having a whale of a time. Another one is you're having a blast. If you're having a blast, you're having a great, fantastic time. All right? So this cheered Alex up even more, right? And then they got to the river, and what happened? Wow! This girl, Betty, is in love with him. She tells him that. So what is he? He rejoices. Alex rejoiced. So if you rejoice about something, that means you suddenly feel a great deal of delight, happiness, and relief. Like, wow, yes, finally, I rejoice at this. And he became elated. Elated is like to feel incredible. Suddenly I feel elated. Right? Okay, so they kissed, and then Alex was in 7th heaven. What's heaven? Well, okay. Let's pretend that when we talk about heaven, we're talking about the stars in the sky. We can say the heavens, right? Up in the sky. Seventh heaven is way up there in the sky. Okay? So we feel it not just on top of the world, not just over the moon, but not just on cloud 9 even. Now he's in 7th heaven. He's so happy, right? So they walked back and they were what? They were walking on air. They were walking on air. It means they were in such a state of bliss that nothing could affect them. They were walking on air. They were so happy that they couldn't even feel the ground beneath their feet. They were walking on air. They were so light and happy, carefree. And the family saw when he came home that he was as happy as Larry. Well, who's Larry? We didn't mention a Larry. Was Larry the other guy that she was almost in love with? No. Larry was, this is a very strange story, but apparently Larry was a boxer. You know, a boxer in the 19th century, in the 1870s, called Larry Foley. He won a boxing match, and he won lots of money for winning this boxing match. And then the newspapers described Larry as very happy. So suddenly, anyone who was happy was as happy as Larry. It's a strange story, but that's how we got this idiom, as happy as Larry, apparently. So, there's something else I want you to notice about these idioms. Did you notice that so many of them, almost all of them, were using this metaphor that good or happiness equals up? Right? Did you notice that? Did you notice that when you when you're sad, first of all, you're down, right? Feeling down in the dumps. But when you're starting to become happier, you're lifting your spirits, feeling upbeat, right? And then you get way up there, you're on top of the world. You're over the moon. You're on cloud 9. You're in 7th heaven. So many of these idioms are about happiness being up. Don't you find that interesting? Interesting way that we've been taught to think about things, huh? That's for another video. I will do a whole separate video on that. A whole other lesson, which is a very interesting thing. But for now, I've provided a handout for you for this lesson. So you can download that in the description so that you can practice these phrases. You can practice how to talk about happiness with all of these different idioms, words, and phrases. Okay, I want you to practice them. Really do this. Don't just watch the video and then turn it off and say, oh, okay, that was fun. No, practice. Otherwise, you won't get anything from it. All right? So download that handout and subscribe to this YouTube channel, because when you subscribe, you will get notified. YouTube will tell you whenever I post a new lesson. And you will be amazed at the fireworks that I will give you. I will give you a lot of lessons here. And if you follow them, if you follow what I have to teach you, then you will be in 7th heaven. Okay? Really do that. You know, there's one kind of happiness that I didn't talk about. in this video. It's a very rare kind of happiness. And it's called fulfillment. If a person is fulfilled, then that means it's not just a moment of feeling happy. It's not just a day that they are in a good mood, on top of the world one day and down in the dumps the next day. Okay, that's not what you want. You want to be fulfilled. So how do you become fulfilled? I can tell you that the best way to become fulfilled is to work on yourself every day. To continuously improve yourself. When you set yourself a goal, you want to be working towards that goal consistently. If you don't, then you won't feel good. You won't feel fulfilled. You might get a little bit of happiness if you eat something here, or you go out with your friends, have a good time, but you won't be fulfilled. You'll only be fulfilled if you continue to walk the path. And that, my friend, is what I'm giving you. I want you to walk this path with me. I want you to realize how happy you can be. I'm going to give you a lot of stuff on this channel, on my website, and it's up to you to really use it. Do yourself a favor, okay? Use it. Also in the description, you can get a copy of my 101 Songs to Learn English, incredible guide that you won't find anywhere else. You won't find that anywhere else. Okay? Download that as well as your handout for this lesson. Keep practicing. Keep learning. Keep going.